Welcome to Cleveland Independent School District Fireside Chat Podcast, your one-stop source for informative, entertaining, and uplifting information that focus on topics that are important to our community. Here you will witness interviews, discussions, conversations, and celebrations. If you enjoy the podcast, please like and subscribe. Stay connected with us as we move forward together. Welcome to Fireside Chat Podcast. I'm Ebony, your host for today's episode of Victory and Rhythm. On today's podcast, we have the band director of Royal Braves Band, Mr. Hawkins, and our drum major, Christopher Ibarra. So we're going to talk legacy. All right. So now in Cleveland, we all know that RBB is like the pride and joy of Cleveland, Texas. And, before you came into the district, I want to know, were you aware of the legacy you had to uphold? Because, they had several winning streaks in the previous years. So were you aware of the legacy? And by you knowing the legacy, were you feeling any type of pressure?
Yeah, I'm definitely well aware of the legacy of the Royal Braves Band. I grew up in East Texas. And so that means I grew up in a military band, just like the Cleveland is. And so at every, NAMI, at Texas A&M back in high school, we would always try to go back and watch Cleveland anytime we got the chance. And so I was always very aware of the band program, and just being friends with former director like Jim Jones, and Jonathan Kelly. Like, I kind of always knew about the lore of the band program, with Pete Kunkel and everything. So I won't say that there was added pressure, but I will say that there was a sense of excitement, being a part of, the Cleveland band history, and knowing that I'll have an opportunity to kind of add my little bit of, you know, my little bit of, whatever happens here to the history of the band program.
Okay. Like, what do you believe that separates you from other high school band programs?
I think it's the pride and tradition of the program. There are little small distinct things about our band program that we do that other band programs don't do. And with Chris being here, I can talk about like the role of the drum major, and how our drum majors march and how our drum majors conduct, those things like that. It's very distinctive to our band program. What our drum major wears is very distinctive to our band program as well. And then just the overall tradition and pride that the kids have within this program. We have a lot of kids that are in our band program because their siblings were in band. And then on top of that, we have a lot of alumni members who are now parents that their students are now in the band program as well. So, that only happens unless there's a sense of pride and tradition in the band program.
Hey. All right. So how do you feel? How do you see your band program shaping students beyond high school? Do you see the difference, even like not necessarily after high school, like when we're in the hallways, do you see a different in how they conduct themselves? Because I know being a band, you have to have a lot of discipline,
Right.
So do you believe your program is a blueprint for when they go out into the real world and, start to explore things? Do you think you put certain characteristics and qualities in your band students?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I definitely think that band offers more, than just band. That's kind of the norm. You hear people say, "Oh, well, it's just band." It's like it's not just band. There are a lot of different things that the students can learn from being a part of our band program. I mean, Chris can probably attest to that. It's not easy. I mean, it's tough, and it's a very rigorous schedule, especially in the month of October. But getting to school, we start school at 7 a.m. and then we don't start rehearsal until 5 o'clock, and they're here till 7:30. So they don't get home till 9 o'clock, 9:30, and then have to turn around and get right back to school. So I think one of the things that students really take from being a part of the band program is self accountability. And they learn that from having to learn their spot in the drill, having to kind of learn the people around them learn their spot in the drill as well, because you want to be able to help them to whenever they're having issues and things like that. Meeting deadlines, every week they have something that they had to pass off to us for a grade. So again, we're teaching these kids, self accountability in that aspect, but also them how to plan, how to communicate and how to plan. So if we have a student, we got football players, we got baseball players, we got soccer players, we got students that do sports outside of the band. And so they have to be very, very good at making a plan and communicating. And so those are some things that I've really tried to stress this year with the students is communicating. It's like, look, we understand sometimes things happen. You have to miss rehearsal, you have to be late, but you have to let us know. It's not okay to just not show up and not let us know where you are. So that aspect, and then, and then I think that you can always tell who the band students are just because I feel like they're very goal oriented in a way about a lot of things, especially with eligibility. It's kind of pointless to be in band if you're not going to pass your class because then you're not able to participate at all. You're going to miss all the fun stuff, all the football games and the competitions. The rehearsals and things and stuff like that. But the gratification comes from being able to perform at football games and doing a contest and then getting to see other bands, things like that.
You know what? I can attest when you talk about the physical aspect of it and how you have to like physically show up. I mean, I was in band, started from 6th grade, and then I stopped my freshman year.
Yeah.
Because marching out in that sun and practicing, I said, well, this is too much. I was like, Mama, I don't want to do this no more. It's just too hot out there because it takes a lot. You guys go from like morning to sundown and just, and I applaud you guys for that. So that brings me to the next question, because, we do have something to celebrate, you know?
Yeah.
But my question is, what is the most memorable moments during the UIL competition? Because for those who may not know, these are our state UIL champs. So, what was the most memorable moment that you had? And how did you feel once you heard, well, your brave band is the winner, or the news was brought back to you that you guys won?
Well, I think that it's not so much like a bunch of memories that kind of really stand out. I mean, I think it's more so the journey of where we started and where we ended up, like that, just that whole process, But there are some moments along the way that really stand out where I'm like, okay, this is kind of a different thing. Like the first time that it's a tradition where we run it back at the end of rehearsal. We dismiss, the kids take it upon themselves to go back and run through the drill again. I didn't know this before. And so I packed my stuff up and I'm ready to go home. It was my, we as the directors, we alternate who stays late with the kids. And so it was my week to go home. So I was packing my stuff up and I was ready to go. And this thing I hear is them saying, run it back. And they all run back to the field and, run it back and then do the entire drill again. I'm just like, oh, okay. I get it.
You probably was like ready to go. Then you look back, they ran back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had to contemplate, do I want to stay for this run through or do I stay and watch? And of course I stayed and watched. But in the moment, you're standing there on the field and every band program, that were there that day are all out on the field and all the other directors and things like that. And so, I'll say that after prelims, we went into finals in the 3rd place. And so ultimately, we set a goal this summer with the leadership that we wanted to make state finals. And so when I got the form and I saw that we had made state finals, I was satisfied. At that point, after that, anything that happened after that happens. That was our goal. The students met their goal and I was happy for them. It's not a personal goal of mine. It's, let's set a goal and let's put forth the work. It's my job to make sure you do the work that you get to your goal. And so when we got to finals, we had a really good finals run. I was very happy with it. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're good. We had a better run than we had it in the prelims. We'll probably be stuck, right where we were, 3rd place. And I'm perfectly content with that. And, we're standing on the field and we're in line and they're going through and they say 5th place and they say 4th place. And I'm expecting to hear Cleveland 3rd place. And they say another band. I'm like, oh, okay. Perfect. Well, silver medal. It's great, And so, I'm kind of standing there and I'm right next to one of my good friends from college, and they say 2nd place, and I'm expecting to hear Cleveland High School, and I don't hear Cleveland High School.
So at this point, did your heart drop? Like, did it go straight to your stomach?
I don't know if my heart. I mean, I don't know. Everything just kind of went quiet.
Yeah.
It just went. And I remember I looked at my friend. I go, "What just happened?" And he goes, "You just won." And I was like, we won. And then I look up and then they said it and I saw all the kids there. All the kids were emotional on the front row.
Oh, wow.
A bunch of tough kids that, are so tough. And you look at them and they're bawling already. And I look over and the director of UIL music is coming towards me with this big old box. And I'm like, oh my God, we just won.
Wow. I'm getting chills. Yeah, just hearing you talk about it.
And it took me a minute to really process the whole thing. because I mean, you say all the time, well, it was completely unexpected. We didn't. I didn't. I didn't. Me, it being my first year, me not knowing any of the students, me not knowing any of the directors, a brand new assistant director as well. Not, leadership didn't know me. We didn't know anything about each other. I'm sure the first few weeks they met me, they were just like, oh my God, this man's crazy. And so you hear him laugh. So it was completely unexpected. And so, I mean, it's still, weird when people say congratulations to me and I have to, oh yeah, we did do something. Hell yeah.
We did.
Yeah. But I mean, just completely unexpected. I couldn't be any more proud of them because, the band program was kind of a rough patch, and so any other kids, and I tell them all the time, unless your kids would have just walked out of the program and just left and they chose to stay, they chose to set a goal and they achieved that goal and achieved so much more than I ever thought they could.
You know what? Your stories that is very inspiring by far because if you look at the district as a whole, when we're going through this rebuilding process and just trying to navigate, and like you said, this was your first year. You guys were not fully acquainted with one another, and you made it work. You set a goal. You guys had a purpose, and you made it work. So when you reflect as a whole in the district, it gives hope. Like even though we may not win every game, there may be losses, but that consistency and that belief, when that's embedded in you, I feel like the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you guys' story mimics kind of like what we're going through as a district as a whole. Like it's gonna, you had your rough patch, but
Right.
it's not, the sun has to come out eventually. It's not gonna rain forever.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just so amazing. Like I'm so happy for you guys. Like I'm just
and I know it was a shock to them too, because as a student and a performer, you never really know how well it is you're doing. Like you can watch videos, and you're like, oh, we actually did a performance this week. Nobody missed a turn. Hey, we did good, but you don't really get a sense of how well you're actually doing, especially with us being the only military band in our district. And so all we see are, the other bands, the huge bands like the Woodlands and College Park and these super highly successful core bands. And here we are with our little, military band, no props, no custom uniforms and things like
no
that.
flags.
And so, none of that. And so you never really get an opportunity to understand how good you are. And so I feel like that was their gratification that, their hard work finally paid off. And hey, we are a really good band program. We can achieve so much more.
Yes, indeed. Okay, Christopher, it's your time to shine. All right, so what inspired you to be the drum major? What was your inspiration behind that role?
Well, my inspiration actually first came when I was in middle school when I saw the band place third place at state and just seeing the drum majors come out, do the salute in front of basically all of Texas. It was just, it brought me joy. And I was like, I want to do that one day. I want to receive a trophy, give it to my band, receive medals. And well, here we are today.
Yeah.
And that dream actually came true.
And it did. Congratulations as well.
Thank you
So,
much.
what are the roles of a drum major? I mean, you spoke on it a little bit, how it distinguishes you guys from different bands, but on the outside looking in, like, yeah, we see them, follow you guys. It's just a basic concept, But I'm sure there are so many layers to being a drum major. So, what would be your roles and your duties?
Well, being a drum major is basically being like an assistant director in a way. When the directors aren't there, we're there. Whatever, when Mr. Hawkins would be like, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" We go do that. We're there to help all students in whatever it is, music, schoolwork, marching. We're always there to help them in any sort of way. We're also there just to be a friend to everyone, being someone that people can go up to, talk to with any questions they have, any concerns. We're there to basically in a way the backbone of the band. We're there to support them in any way we can.
Okay. And do you feel like you want to continue? I know you're a senior. Do you feel like you want to continue with band on a collegiate level, or you think this is kind of like your final destination as you venture off into a different entity?
Well, fortunately, it is gonna end up in high school simply because I want to just put my full focus on my studies. But honestly, later on in college, it's like I found like, okay, well, I can well manage this. I would give it just another opportunity because band is honestly a really great experience for anyone and whatever it is, concert season, marching season. You can learn so many lessons from both.
That's true. That's true. And I hope you get that opportunity, but I understand it can be a lot of pressure for a college student, especially as a coming in as a freshman. But once you find your balance, I think you should lean into it. I mean, I think it'd be a wonderful experience for you. Okay, well, that concludes our podcast of Victory and Rhythm. And I hope that you guys, continue with a prosperous year. I hope you have an amazing senior year. Enjoy the rest of your senior year because these memories you cannot get back. And I'm glad you was able to experience winning, state. So thank you guys for joining us today and look forward to hearing more from RBB.
Thank you. Thank you.